oversaturated, way too many people applying. I was saying this the other day to someone, but no one knows who the fuck we are, and you
Yeah.
have 500 applicants. Like
Yeah.
that is a red flag. Imagine what
Yeah.
Droga's getting,
Yeah.
or Wyden Kennedy. Name the big agency.
I mean, my story is unfortunately really long-winded, but I do like to tell people because I think it's helpful for a lot of people out there. I didn't have the traditional, like most people that I hear that get into design were really great artists growing up, doodled, had all kinds of sketchbooks, went to an art school, realized they needed to choose a career that was going to give them money. So they might have fallen into graphic design that way. My path was 100% different. I was not artistic growing up. My highest subjects were math and science. So at that time, when it was time to choose a college, I chose engineering. And partly that was my parents had come from India, they wanted me to excel. So I was picking something that I knew they'd be proud of, but also I had the skills to do it. So I chose engineering, got a degree, and then it was a few years into that I was starting to raise a family with my husband, and we were in like the high tech area of Canada, which is Ottawa. It's like the Silicon Valley of the North, is what we call it. So we were there, and when I started the family, I kind of wanted more hours at home. Engineering was a pretty intense job. It's hard, that work-life balance thing did not exist in the industry back then. So initially I took time off to be home full time, but got bored of that and actually ended up taking night classes in graphic design, literally just to kind of have something to do. And I don't even know why. Like I remember flipping through the books and choosing something that I thought looked interesting and would be a cool way to pass the time. And I mean, now in hindsight, I was in every yearbook club and I made every poster for any organization I volunteered at. So it was there. I just hadn't recognized it as a thing you could do. And then when I took the classes, fell in love with it, found it very intuitive, thought, oh, this is something I can do while I'm home. So I really just kind of started independently, part-time, and haven't really changed that model since. So again, the sort of unconventional path of not having any agency experience, which for a long time got stuck in my head and really kind of intimidated me, or at least I was intimidated by people who had that agency experience. But it was just the most convenient, for my lifestyle, for what we wanted to do. It just really worked. At the same time, my husband also made a transition out of engineering because that's how we had met. We had met in class. And he started farming. He loved growing vegetables. He was growing it for us for about 5 years. Like we were just only eating everything he could grow. And then he kind of said, this is what I want to do as a career. So then we thought, what are we doing in Ottawa? There's, we should be closer to family where there's great land, which is kind of closer to the Great Lakes. So we ended up coincidentally just coming back to his hometown, which is, the area we're in is near London, Ontario, which is kind of directly across the lake from Cleveland, is kind of how I explain it to Americans. So easiest way to kind of explain it. So that's where we are now. We've been here since 2010. So he started a farm, and it was so the graphic design I did kind of changed as we moved along, right? So in Ottawa, it was all government programs, government departments, a lot of bilingual documents. Everything in Canada is English and French. A lot of NGOs, that sort of work. When we moved here, it was a lot of more like entrepreneurs, small businesses that were kind of in the community. So I started doing a lot of branding work and website design because I had that sort of technical background and could kind of learn that stuff sort of quickly. And that was the kind of industry that was here. So I really was enjoying that. But then it was through the farm that we met some people that were making herbal tea for their, through their farm, or making sauerkraut from the cabbage we were selling them. And they kind of looked at me and said, hey, you're a designer, right? Can you do our labels? And that was sort of where the food packaging kind of place came. A light bulb went off. I thought, oh my gosh, like I've been a foodie all my life. I buy wine based on the packaging. Doing this kind of work exclusively sounds really cool. And maybe I should dive into that a little bit more. So that was 2017, 2018. And yeah, I just kind of created a whole new website, renamed the company, started putting only my food portfolio work there. joined some industry associations, started reaching out to people, kind of made those connections, and then just kind of built things that way. So it's, yeah, like I said, it's really hard to kind of condense into a small story.
Yeah.
But that's sort of where I'm at today. And, in Canada, we do have sort of new, I guess, different challenges in that we do, even our food packaging has to be bilingual. So, we look at American packaging and think, oh my gosh, that would be so amazing if we didn't have to put the French on there, but we do. So there's a design challenge of, these really small real estate formats and including two languages. But yeah, it's just it's an extra challenge to add, but it's pretty cool. And I work with American companies, of course, as well, or Canadian ones that also want to move to the US or sell in the US. So kind of working both sides. But yeah, that's sort of how I got to what I'm doing now.
Oh, very cool. That's quite the journey. That's crazy. But
It
that's
is a little
cool.
bit crazy.
Yeah. The food, and then kind of mixed with your husband's line of work too is really fun,
Yeah,
interesting that there's like overlap, but not
not quite.
subtle overlap. Yeah.
Subtle overlap for sure. I mean, we recognized early on when he was starting this farm that I was not someone who, wanted to get out in the field and start pulling weeds. So that was pretty clear. He knew that I wasn't going to be a part of that. But of course, there's the marketing support.
Yeah.
All of that. He needed a van wrapped. He needed a website, like all those kinds of things. I'll
Yeah.
help and support. But there was a really nice, certainly synergy for that because we're kind of involved with the community around here, the chefs and again, the producers, that sort of thing. So we're kind of working side by side, but not too much together because I don't know how that would go.
Yeah.
If we'd still get along.
What is the farm name?
No, for sure. It's called Common Ground Farm. I think there's another Common Ground Farm in upstate New York.
That sounds
But
familiar. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so
So
I think the name, I mean, it's not that surprising that there's another one, but and he's always grown vegetables. He just loves growing whatever you can grow in season. So he started with a CSA program, which if anybody's familiar with, you basically as a member you sign up for the season, right? And you get a box of vegetables, whatever is available. So he started that way. He also goes to some farmers markets. And he just likes the challenge of the fact that people think you can't grow the food that you can eat in Canada. People always think, we're snow covered all the time. So
yeah,
he
yeah.
set out to kind of dispel that myth. So
That's cool.
he has a heated greenhouse, grows salad greens year round. So they go to markets all year and have something to sell. So it's pretty cool. It's definitely cool. We've definitely benefited from, yeah, great vegetables, great quality food, and being connected to that. So it kind of
That's great.
aligns with the work that I do with food companies, right? And the
Yeah.
clean label, and that sort of thing for sure.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I guess like I also think I talk about it all the time. I feel like everyone kind of in the CPG space really has been banging on about this now, but like really understanding what you're working on. Like I always say it just for like
Mhm.
booze, because that's our primary. Fred Hart always is like, you need to understand like what these founders are even just doing before
100%.
you even. And so I feel like you're so rooted in it, which is
That
awesome.
was,
And it just makes the
yeah,
work better. It just
that's
naturally
right.
has to.
That's right. And for sure, I do feel like that's kind of a piece of the value I can offer because I know what it's like to be a farmer and how rarely you are at the computer checking your email, right? So for instance, I work with a lot of farmers. I've worked with dairy farms, producing cheese or milk and needing their packaging. And I understand the difficulty of just being available the way our schedule works, right? And kind of so helping kind of, yeah, being compassionate about that, making things work to their seasons, to their schedule, that sort of thing. So I definitely feel like I have a little bit more of that kind of understanding without getting too frustrated by the fact that,
Yeah.
they don't, maybe a text is easier than an email because they're just going to be standing in the field, literally answering me or looking at a design, right? Versus having to sit down and take something in on the computer. So
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit of that.
That's so interesting. I also and I not to speak for all farmers, but I feel like it's their least priority, right? Like at
Totally. Yeah.
last thing they're ever going to think about. Not that they don't care, but
Yeah.
that everything is far higher prio, and like that's why they're
There's
hiring
more urgency.
you.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So your business I like to always just like uncover like what the actual business is. Like we work on
Mhm.
bigger brands, so it's very much like to the marketing team directly. But from
Yes.
your perspective, you're really, you know, just championing the
Mhm.
farmer ultimately. Like that's who you're servicing them. The design is
Yes.
the output. Yes, it's going to be great because you're a great designer, whatever. You're going to solve the
Mhm.
problem, right? Like that's
Yeah.
table stakes almost. But
Yes.
like the difficulty of that is real. The job to be done is really to manage the farmers ultimately and get them on board and make them feel comfortable that they're going to be able to sell the
Right.
things that they're making. There's like an
Yeah.
emotional component to it that's kind of weird and
Yeah.
not talked about
Yeah.
on
No, you
a lot of
mentioned
startups, but I feel like farming, there's something like,
even more.
yeah, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think you've hit the nail on the head for sure. I think a lot of them, first of all, yeah, creativity is not necessarily in their wheelhouse. They don't have the language to explain what they're looking for. There's a lot of marketing support. They just know how to grow something really, really well. And they know other people need to try it and taste it, but they don't know what that next step is, right? So kind of really guiding them through that has been really a big part of it. You're right. Like it's not something that I necessarily say as a service, but it definitely comes with the job, right? For sure.
Yeah,
So yeah, helping them. And then it's definitely they're often families involved, right? So they've got to check in with their parents who maybe have handed down the farm to them, maybe their spouse, that kind of thing. So it's a lot of it's very different, I guess, yeah, than a typical kind of company that way. Everyone's got kind of an emotional attachment. So kind of walking through the steps of here you are today, here's what you're aspiring to be. So this is the aesthetic that will, kind of get you there. It's a bit of a hand holding, exactly kind of how you
yeah,
said.
totally.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, for
fascinating
sure.
though. So different,
Yeah,
from at least our day to day. I mean, it's the same, but very much
yeah, yeah,
stakeholders are very
it's different.
unique. Yeah, yeah.
Well, and it feels
Um,
like it's a place and time right now too, where there's a lot of that. I'm seeing a lot of legacy companies handing the reins right to the younger generation, and they're trying to put their mark on things. So that's often why a rebrand, is on the table because they're kind of into this new stage of the business, and they want to put a little bit of their own kind of mark on it. So that's why I'm coming in. So it's that whole bridging the gap between those maybe
that's cool.
conflicting sets of interest, that sort of thing, right? So there's a bit
Yeah,
of
that
that for sure. Thing that I'm trying to do more of, for me, it's a little bit, I don't have as much in the pocket yet, but I'm working towards a lot of it is ethnic foods. Like there's a lot of ethnic foods coming to North America. I mean, it's been coming for a long time, but and the people, if you're a first generation immigrant, you come here, you're looking for your cultural foods, you'll go to the ethnic grocery store and you'll know what to get off the shelf. You don't need fancy packaging. You're kind of looking for that thing, right? But now as that age group ages out and there's younger people who are looking for exciting foods but don't know anything about them, need kind of some guidance about how you use this sauce or how you prepare this rice or whatever it might be. And having that language of, me having been born in North America, kind of helping them kind of, okay, this is the messaging, like this is how we're going to educate people about your product. If you're trying to reach a broader audience than those people that already know, what are we gonna, how are we gonna tell that story of the beginnings and the heritage of this brand, but also bring it into this Western audience? So there's been again a few chances that I've got to do that, and I really like that challenge. It's been pretty interesting, and I think that industry is only going to keep growing, right?
totally.
So there's a lot. I think there's a lot that can be done there, for sure. So
Yeah,
excited about that.
I feel like we've only scratched the surface. It's like,
Yes.
and it always starts, right, with like the really cool snack shoddy, all the
Yes.
stuff that us designers like kind of
Yeah.
world, and then it
Exactly.
like starts to the first
Exactly.
adopters, and then it goes. Who who are you, if you can share, who are you working with? Is it local people or is it a bit bigger, kind of startup-y? Is it like farmers or is it more, I guess, people trying to break into CPG?
Kind of across the board, really. I think
That's cool.
I've certainly worked with lots of small startups. It does tend to be maybe more, I guess the bulk of the work would be food founders,
Yeah.
who kind of limped along with their maybe homegrown packaging for a while, but now they have a product that's proven in the marketplace. They know it's good to go. They just need to get it to, retail ready. So I'll help a lot of companies at that stage. But then I'm also working with quite a number of brands that have in-house marketing and are bigger, and they're just launching new product lines or trying a new ingredient. So, working with them. I think one example I'm thinking of is it was a goat cheese company, and they had been for 30 years only making goat cheese products, and now they've just recently launched. They wanted to launch a new cow cheese product, so that's where they brought me in, and they knew they needed a whole new name. So we worked on the naming system and then the design system on 2 product lines, and now they're continuing to roll out new products with that. So so those are kind of I guess on the larger side of what I'm working with.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah,
But
so it's
from
across the board.
but what about like from the like ethnic food side though of things? Because is that
Oh,
yeah, those specific.
yeah, I think, well, I'm trying to think, I have to look at my shelf. Oh, yeah, there's been a few African products. My website is a little bit out of date, so it's like the last thing on my list is to
Of
update my
course,
portfolio.
always.
Yes, but there was a product of a woman who's created this. It's pretty cool, actually, because have you heard of CMOS gel?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so it's a great health product and people really understand it. The challenge with it is that it can have a bit of a like a sea taste to it. So people, it's a bit off-putting, right? So people have to kind of incorporate it into their smoothies or their
Yeah.
recipes to kind of mask that smell. So she developed a process, this owner, of making it into a gummy form, which is, I mean,
Oh,
and she
that's
did
really
this,
cool.
yeah, she did it a couple of years ago. There's starting to be some players now, but she was definitely the first one at the time. I couldn't find anybody doing what she was doing when we developed her packaging. And so, yeah, she's made this really great tasting gummy. She lightly sweetens it. So it's a really easy way to kind of get that ingredient into your diet in a really kind of tasty way. So, and that one too, we'd had that conversation. She said, I really want to introduce it to people outside of the Caribbean community who don't know anything about this product. And I said, okay, great. And we kind of started with some packaging, but she said, no, I clearly wanted to have an ethnic look. Like I really, this is my heritage is really important to me and we have to incorporate that. So again, I don't think this is on my website, but I got an illustrator and we kind of used the idea of sea moss sort of wavy in the ocean, but tied it into the like an African hair lock system. So there's like these 2 women and there's like a silhouette of 2 faces and their hair kind of turns into the seaweed. And like it was so cool when I presented it to her, she almost cried. Like she was just
Sick.
like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. And so, but it's still beautiful enough that she's getting sort of this, yeah, widespread acceptance, right? It's not so specifically targeting, a specific cultural group. The reception has been great sort of everywhere. So
That's
that was
really
kind of a
cool.
cool experience, yeah, for
Yeah.
her, and to build that brand out.
That's what's so interesting about this space too, is like, yeah, it's like new foods and products introduced to a wider audience, but also the change of format is like
Yes,
the differentiator, obviously, from the business perspective, but also like a cool innovation portion of it. Because like
yeah,
this, it should feel like innovation too,
100%.
right? Because everything, at least what you're saying, everything we do is like taking the heritage and then modernizing it for the current consumer. And
Hmm,
so
hmm.
like the innovation is the modernization part, and that one
Yes.
specifically, which is rad. Like
That's
that,
true. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I hadn't even thought about it that way. Yeah. Actually, that calls to mind another client who he's from Jamaica and he developed a process for making these jerk infused hot dogs, essentially,
Sick.
which is kind of brilliant. Again, it's just
Yeah.
like people understand the jerk flavor, they get it. Maybe it's not that convenient to always like marinate chicken and barbecue it. You're kind of looking for something faster that you can take to the beach or whatever. So I love jerk, so I was a little bit, like I hope this is going to be legit. I was like a little hesitant, right? Like
Yeah.
how authentic is this going to be? And it's really authentic. Like it's a hot dog, so you can't, you're not going to don't expect more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in terms of the jerk flavor, it's right on the nose. It's perfect. So I think again, that's like exactly speaking to what you're saying. That whole innovation piece, he's really bringing these flavors to a market that might otherwise not get to try it, right? So
That's awesome. Yeah.
yeah, it's another
Yeah, it
cool.
does a lot of jobs. It does the innovation. It does getting new consumers, getting consumers that wouldn't typically even branch out. Like which is
Yeah,
ultimately expanding the culture, which is really cool.
yeah.
Everyone's whispering behind me, being like, "That sounds so delicious." I don't know if
It
you can
really
hear
is.
that.
It really is.
Um, no, that's amazing. Uh, I had a thought on that, but I
I
lost it.
think you're right
That's
though. I
so
think
cool
that's
though.
a big part of the, bringing these ethnic foods here is finding the consumers where they are, right? And kind of, okay, you guys are already familiar with this, this is how you can try this product. And you're just substituting maybe something that you're already familiar with, like a sriracha mayo, right? It's kind of an
Yeah,
easy way to get people on board with sriracha. So
sure.
I think there's a lot of room to do that across all different cultural products that are, they're not there yet. And people are itching to try these things and they want
Yeah,
these new experiences. But if you can kind of show them, oh, you're just subbing in, this for that. I think about I think Brooklyn Deli's doing a really good job of that. And Omsom, those are two
awesome.
brands
Yeah.
that, yeah, just really crushing it, honestly.
Oh,
and,
Brooklyn
and
Deli.
making a
Yeah.
shout out to them for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the ones I kind of cite when I do talk to, an Indian product, and they kind of think, oh, I know, they've got the very kind of typical motifs and color tones, and everything is kind of very similar. And and I'm trying to show them this is the way you branch out to this newer audience, right? You get a fresher palette. Again, Brooklyn Deli, I think, does a really good job of just saying right on the bottles, this is how you use this thing. This is how you use our curry ketchup, right? That kind of thing. So I think that education piece is important.
That's what I was gonna say. I feel like how do you educate and like putting it on the pack is for phase one. I believe in like iterating on packaging. I think it can
Yeah,
always change. I
totally.
think, and I'm not a groundbreaking concept by any means. I actually Boston Beer. I heard this years ago from our director at Boston Beer for Truly. They
Okay.
rebranded every year and just incrementally, just like fixing things or like
Right.
retooling things, which
Yeah.
is kind of brilliant. Like it's great for whoever's designing that because they get to
I
fix
was
it
gonna
every year.
say we can get behind it, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, great. Love to have a job every year on the same project. But like, um, yeah, it's interesting where you're like retooling it for whatever the consumer is actually looking for at that
Right.
time, and not in like a trend-based way. Like it's
No.
very much incremental. Blink and you'll miss it. You probably don't even, I mean, I didn't even notice it. And I'm a
Right.
designer focusing at that time period on seltzers specifically, right?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
our bread and butter at a point. So it's interesting. So yeah, putting it on, launching and putting it on the pack of just like, this is how I want you to use it. Let the consumer adopt it and use it in more interesting ways, which like even they're doing on their site, which is like a spaghetti with
Yeah.
I don't know
So
what
cool, right?
sauce. Brilliant, right? Like let the consumer do it, but at
Totally.
the same time, yeah, from the jump, just educate as much as possible. Like design doesn't need to be, you don't have to be winning Dieline awards for the design. You
Right.
really need to be solving the business problem
The
first and make it
problem.
look
Exactly.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
which is
And
really
you're right.
cool that they
The iteration piece, I think, is important because you have to listen to consumer feedback too, right? If people say, I don't get it, or this isn't clear, or I'm really, I'm stoked that you have this ingredient, but there's nothing calling that out, like all that kind of stuff. I think you need to really take that in and have your packaging evolve as a result, right?
totally.
So yeah, no, I think that's definitely a good point.
Oh, the jerk chicken. The thing I wanted to say
Yeah.
was, and I was talking to someone yesterday who's more in like brand research type of like semiotics and type of work like that.
Mhm.
Because we went to BarCon event together, which is just all spirits
Okay.
and it's all
Yeah.
spirits specifically and some non-alcs and stuff like that, but it's kind of just it's Expo West for
For,
alcohol.
for booze.
Yeah, for booze. And we were talking about stuff and everyone's half-assing this low alc, non-alc, whatever, and
Right.
just being like, well, it's a wine base, but it has no alcohol. And it's just like so much shit. And I made the comparison to vegan food where it's like I hate vegan food where you're like, oh, it's buffalo chicken wings, but it's
Yeah.
actually seitan. Just make something unique, like make something new,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yes.
you don't like try and be the other thing. Like it's okay
100%.
to make something new with this. It's almost, and I think it's better and more interesting to just
Yeah.
go new. And there's two ways to do it. I mean, it's not an equal comparison to, a food of a specific place or culture, but like there is an, yeah, like do it well.
Yeah.
Do it better and do it better than the kind of brands that already exist with on those shelves or in
Yeah.
that area, or just do something completely different while kind of using that as inspiration. Because like, isn't that more
Yeah.
fun? Isn't that what
It
you
totally,
are getting from CPG ultimately anyway? From like these nearly ready to cook, ready to eat, ready to make style products.
yes. Yeah. No, that's yeah, you bring up a really good point. And I have to say, I 100% agree. I've tried so many wines that aren't wine, and they're all pretty much terrible. If you can recommend one that's good, please tell me. There's a few beers out there, but I think too,
Beer
it's
definitely. Athletic?
yeah, Athletic is my favorite for
Yeah.
sure. I still continue to try a few more, but I find myself going back to Athletic all the time. But yeah, the wines, I just think it just ends up tasting like juice. There's no other way around it. So why not make a great tasting juice then,
Yeah,
right? Some
exactly.
interesting flavors or whatever. Just kind of own it
Yeah.
and dive in, right?
And
Yeah,
don't
no,
try and sell it to me for fucking $40 when it's
that
just the
too.
juice,
That too, exactly. And then the funniest thing is I'll see people say, "Oh, you can make a really great cocktail with it because it's like a really great flavor or whatever." And then I think, isn't the whole point that this is supposed to be enjoyed on its own, right? Like, let's kind of dive into that and yeah, and find a way that it can just stand up on its own.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you're trying to get
yeah,
this cocktail occasion, but like what
yeah,
why? Right? Like it feels like you're solving too many issues. Or you're solving too many problems by trying to attack a different occasion.
yes,
Or tailor it to that occasion without saying it and making it more obvious. Which
yeah,
it should be because everyone can be over my house having cocktails. You just want a nice beverage.
yes,
Right? Like
yeah,
no one's gonna look at you funny for not having a Negroni and having a beautiful, delicious, crazy juice thing that
exactly.
you brought over in a large format or whatever, I don't,
Yeah,
yeah, it just feels like we're trying too hard. I don't know. Now we're
I
down
think
the alcohol rabbit hole of like occasions and product and everything, but it is. We're trying too hard in a lot of areas when we can just be a little more overt. We're assuming the consumer is stupid, is really what it comes
yes.
down
And I was
to.
just gonna say, I think you put it better, like they're solving a problem that isn't there, right? I don't
Yeah.
think anybody's asking for non-alcoholic wine. If they don't want to drink, they just won't drink, right? So
Yeah.
it's fine. But maybe I don't know. I think that, but then I think, well, I guess maybe that's just a personal opinion because clearly there's enough brands out there. There must be a demand for it. I just happen to not be that person. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't have all of the research on it, but I think anecdotally, definitely there is no one's asking for that. Right? You're just like kind of like, oh cool, it's a thing. So I guess I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And it is an occasion thing because, like with the non-alc beer, I mean, it's great for, say, a cottage weekend when you know you're just going to be sitting in a chair on a deck like all weekend and you want to be refreshed and you don't necessarily want to drink beer all day. Like there's an occasion for that, right? That really it
Yeah,
solves that need. Yeah, and non-alcohol, I don't know. We can spend too much time on this, but
we could.
that's a story for another day.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
do still think there's like, even as we do kind of, I guess, age into this industry of saying yes to new things, I think is still so important because and I mean, of course, with the balancing, the burnout and not taking on too much, but I think that every time I've done something new that feels like it's going to go nowhere, oh, it's just a one-off thing, 6 months, a year, 2 years later, someone comes with a new project and I say, oh, yeah, I have contacts in that industry. I've done something similar. Like there, you always, any experience is good experience, I think,
Totally.
right? Maybe you could say a client that was the worst client you ever had, or, you had a terrible, you made a terrible mistake on the project. Like all of those things just make your future stuff that much better. So
Definitely.
yeah, I'm all for trying even the
Yeah.
silliest
We talk about practice all the time, and it's like literally that. It's change in the piggy bank of just a little bit of
thing.
knowledge, a little bit of practice, few reps, whatever
Get the
the
reps in.
analogy
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
does get you to that point. I mean, going back, just a quick story. Like I tried to launch a beer in 2015-ish, and I went down the line, white labeling. I found a brewer out of Pennsylvania because I wanted to do Pennsylvania, the whole nine yards. Pitched, literally pitched distributors, made packets, did like this weird, I was like the art kid going into, or the design kid going into the distributor meeting, and like these guys didn't even know what hit them because I had custom packages for them with tasting and the whole thing. And they were like, Philly beer distributors are just like, oh, sure, we'll sell it for you, whatever. Right. Didn't even have to see numbers at that point. And so going through the line and realize, and like just going down the road of how to do it, knowing how hard it is and where to level things up was worth it. It was an absolute failure, but it didn't matter. It's still fun to do. Still talking about it today, right? Almost over 10 years later. But the knowledge that you do have, to your point, the knowledge that I have in go-to-market beer, or just like understanding how distributors think, that they're kind of just like,
what information they're
sorry,
looking
not
for.
all distributors, but most of them are all just like grumpy old men who don't give a fuck about your cool all-natural beer. With prebiotic, probiotic,
well, I think
whatever
that,
the
I mean,
fuck
you
in
figured
it.
out what does get their ears perked, or what I mean, like how to speak to them, the language they're looking for, that kind of stuff is obviously super valuable. I think trying anything at this point is always, and it also just it makes you more distinct, right? Like I also do through we have a professional association here, the RGD, for graphic designers, and so I do a lot of sort of mentoring through that, portfolio reviews, that kind of thing. And especially for those younger people that are coming out of school and they've all done the same projects in school, and then they're going and applying to the same jobs. Like I always say to them, you've got to have something that's unique and different, whether it's like a really cool Instagram grid that we can see kind of your what you sketch in your spare time, or maybe you're into photography, or maybe you're into pottery, or maybe you're in a band. Like all of those things are what's going to make you stand out and memorable, right, to prospects, or to recruiters. So kind of leaning on that, like all of that life like lessons are so invaluable. So that just comes into play on every level, right?
That's awesome. That was my final question for you, is going to be like, what advice do you have for younger students? Because exactly what you're saying is what I've been encountering with everyone, that we're talking to for cold ones and stuff, but also just in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's like oversaturated, way too many people applying. I was saying this the other day to someone, but like we just have an open designer role that like we put up 2 months or so ago, and we just we've always had them, but we had an official, have a new official one, whatever. And at this point, last week it was 400. Now we're like over 500 people. No one knows who the fuck we are, and we're at 500 people. Like no one knows who we are, really. Like we're a 10-person little tiny shop, and you have 500 applicants. Like that is a red flag. Imagine what Droga is getting, or
exactly.
I don't know. Name Wieden Kennedy. Name the big agency. They must be getting tens of thousands. It's insane.
Thousands.
And how do you break through? Like because everyone is doing that same project.
Yes.
But I like that a lot. A different grid, a pottery band. This is a differentiator. I think it's just light. Those are all like life experiences, or like hobbies, or something other than just graphic design.
That's
which I feel like when we were younger, at least when I was coming out of school, and like the era of it was very much like passion projects, maker space, and maker time of things, and like you almost had to do something else.
Yes. That's
and true. That fell off, and now and that's kind of what you're saying. It's just like do something. Like what else you got other than just design?
That's right.
Because that does influence the design. That makes you better a designer.
It totally. I think it 100% does, and I think I'm trying to take that advice for myself, because of course for a long time, so my kids were the focus that I had for quite a number of years. They're kind of at a point now where they're not taking care of themselves, but they're pretty close to it. So I've started looking at, okay, how do I enhance what I'm doing? How do I make my life not just about my work? And so I did two things in the last year. One of them is I do a lot of vintage shopping, thrift shopping, and I have to hold back because I don't literally have a need for all the things that I want, beautiful things I want to buy. So I rented a booth out of like an antique mall this year. And so now I have my own little shop because another thing that designers think are really cool is like, wouldn't it be cool to have your own shop and curate your own objects and things? And I think about that and I think, okay, the rent, the headache of running a shop, like all of it kind of just makes me want to crawl in a hole. But this is like an easy way to do that. So now I get to, style a cabinet, put some of the stuff that I find, thrifted finds, style that, sell it. So I get that kind of itch out of me, but it's on a pretty low risk way. And I really expected to lose money in the first little while just because I didn't know what I was doing, but it's actually made money every month. So
that's crazy. That's
it was
great.
kind of cool. And it's good to know, okay, so I have a taste that other people appreciate. There are people out there that appreciate it, right? So it's good. Like it was good for my ego. It was good to kind of just see if this was like a theoretical thing that could happen. It's a very small, low stakes kind of thing, right? And so that was kind of fun. And it's, of course, it still gets my my itch for design out, right? I'm looking for beautiful kitchenware or textiles or, whatever it is to kind of put it together. And then the other thing, which is like not design related at all, is that I became a certified Zumba instructor.
Cool.
Because I love dancing and I've been doing a lot of public speaking, but I still have to get over that hump of being comfortable of addressing a group of people. And I thought, why not try this? I mean, being a dance instructor has got to be one of the hardest ways to do that. So so I've kind of just dived into it. I did it at the same time when work got insane. So I haven't been able to spend as much time doing that as I would like, but I'm hoping over the summer that I kind of dive into that a little bit more. So cool. So it's one of those examples of it can still inform your professional life, I think, to a large degree, but do something essentially that you just love and that you're passionate about and, and go from there and worry about the skill set later. Right?
No, totally. I love that. I talk about this with my wife a lot because everyone we know, well, just calling out everyone I know, like pretty much all of our friends, I feel this is like a millennial dilemma is you have to have a side business that's like a business. Like everyone wants to have a business of sorts, right? And it's like, romantically, yes, that would be so fun to have a little shop. Like just like you said, that you go into and you can sit there and you can noodle all day long and make it perfect.
And your office is in the back and all of that.
Oh yeah. Perfect. But like that's not reality. And also that's a completely different job than what you actually think it is. And no one actually wants to do it. I love that your version of it where you're doing it and it's working. I think the story would have been better if it wasn't working, I feel like. Whereas, you know what I mean? It's amazing that it's working.
I fully expected it to not work, to be honest. I really thought, but I like that. Again, now I have to go buy, like I have to go thrifting. I have to, but I like that there's some pressure to do that. I've got to change the inventory. And I've noticed that the days when I got too busy and I wasn't doing that, I'm not selling as much. So it's kind of cool that I've, put that on myself. Like this is what you want to do anyway. Now you're forced to, put in some hours a week, getting this, this booth looking great. So but it's like you're saying, like it's not a whole store and maybe there will be a whole store someday, but at least this is a way to kind of just wet my feet a little bit, right? And see what's good.
I think it's cool though because it is an outlet, and I think just the thrift. I personally just love. That's our hobby is like antiquing and thrifting and looking at just old stuff, whether it's for design or for the house or whatever. But just that I think is just making your design work better, just naturally. You're seeing new and different things that you typically wouldn't. You're hunting for things. You're exploring, and that's what's cool about it is like you have a forced outlet that. Yes, yours makes money, but ideally, in this for the kids, it's not making money. Don't try and make money on it. Focus on doing the thing. That's the output of just doing the thing is cool. And I feel like we do. I was that problem, right? I tried to start a beer company. I tried to start a liquor company. I tried to start a million different branding agencies before this, right? Like I need to do it, and then I'm going to make money and whatever. But really, the output, just the exercise, I guess, of doing it is what the valuable part is. That did lead me to an agency at one point, but also just made my work along the way better.
Yeah,
cool. I love the Zumba too, of like forcing yourself
to get up there.
Speak. I mean, that's why I started this, is because I'm just I need to practice talking more.
Yeah.
yes, with clients, yes, with internal people, but like external, other people will
Totally.
see it and have opinions on it, like it's so
Right.
uncomfortable to me. So like doing that, or Zumba's perfect, right? An
Yeah.
instructor of sorts is perfect because you're so exposed. You're
Yeah,
honestly
for
like
sure.
more exposed because you have to dance at the same time. You're
It's
not
a
just like
dance and
clicking through
people are
slides.
watching. And if
Yeah.
you put your hand up, like if you scratch your nose, everyone's going to scratch their nose. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Like you're like highly aware because I know when I'm watching an instructor, what that feeling is like. So everyone's like, all eyes are on you in a very intense way. So I thought if I can pull this off and actually have some semblance of a part-time Zumba career, which again, I'm not putting that on me yet, but it's, maybe it'll get there. But in the meantime, it's this whole, okay, what happens when you have the attention of a room? How do you get people on board with your ideas or because that translates into public speaking in so many different ways. So I think, yeah, this is sort of my way of satisfying my itch to dance more, get some exercise in, but also practice this skill. So yeah, there's a lot there. But it's also kind of embarrassing to admit. So that's my confession for the
Yeah.
day.
But that's good. That's the
Yeah.
6 years, like you said, 6 years from now, you're gonna be like, thank fuck I did that. I'm such a great public speaker.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, anyway. Well, I appreciate the time that we had. I do have to
Yeah,
jump off
definitely. You
for
too.
a client presentation, but yeah, no, this was great. Like I said, it's so nice and generous of you to offer this time to people, and
Oh yeah, thank you.
I'm
So
for
I
sure
mean,
there's going to be a lot of benefit to anyone watching. So hopefully.
sweet. Yeah, hopefully. Even if it's just one person, it's worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
Cool.
awesome. Well, great talking
Well,
to you, Mike.
yeah, you too. Keep in touch. If you're in New York at any point, hit us up.
Absolutely.
Bye. We'll get coffee, drinks, whatever.
Sounds
It'd be great
good.
to meet
Would
in
love
person.
that for
Cool.
sure. Yeah, I my on my bucket list is the summer fancy food show someday, so
Oh,
I'll
cool.
be there for
That's
that.
coming up
Yeah.
soon, I think.
Yeah, I'm not getting to this one, but I'm thinking
Okay.
maybe next year. So I will hit you up at that time.
Yeah,
For
definitely.
sure.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks
See
so
ya.
much.
Talk
Have a
soon.
good
Thank
day.